What up, people? This is Cool Chick number 1, and sorry I have not been out here on the line in a minute. Trying to take care of my dad and some of his health issues. Also, he and I had to evacuate in South Florida in the path of Hurricane Dorian. So just kind of been running around and had not had an opportunity to come holler at you guys, and I apologize for that. So what I want to bring to you guys today is it still makes me laugh a little bit when I think about it. On my way, when my dad and I were driving from South Florida to the Atlanta area, we were on Interstate 75. And usually when I'm driving back and forth between Florida and Atlanta, whenever I hit the state line, I kind of take a deep breath because it's like I don't have far to go, especially when I'm returning from Florida to Atlanta. Once I hit the state line, it's like, okay, I'm more than halfway there. There's not a lot of time left on this trip. So we are coming across the state line, and I guess I'm going to say maybe about 10 miles after we passed the state line, I saw something. I'm not going to say that it was unbelievable to me, but what I will say, it took me for a little bit of a loop. Okay? So we're crossing the state line, we're 10 miles in, and me and my dad see a Confederate flag flying extremely high. Okay? It was at least 50 feet in the air. And the flag was huge. Or maybe it was a standard flag over a city capital size flag. But I guess because of what it was, it just felt humongous to me. And what I was thinking was, wow. That's all I had was a big wow. And I told my daddy, I'm like, you see that? And he was like, yep. And then I started looking at the base of the pole that the flag was flying from. I was trying to see if it was from a place of business, or if it was someone's home. Well, I really couldn't get a clear vision of where the base of the pole was. It didn't look like it was on a business site, yet it looked as if it probably could have been on someone's personal property. And what came to mind was, wow, somebody paid money, or a conglomerate of people pooled their money together to put this pole here and fly the flag. Maybe the pole was already there, but someone had influence in putting that flag up and flying it high over Interstate 75. So I was just totally in shock, and I wanted to do this conversation that night. Yet I said, okay, let me give myself a little time. Let me sleep on it a little bit. And I spoke with a good friend of mine the next day, and I told her what I saw, and she was like, what's wrong? Why are you surprised? And I said, I'm not surprised. I'm saddened. I'm saddened because what that said to me was, this is Georgia. This is what we are. This is who we are. And of course, you can't prevent people from flying certain things on their personal property. But for it to be on the side of Interstate 75, high, where everyone can see, I don't understand why there isn't something against that or preventing that. Okay? So I just really thought about this Confederate flag thing. And what came to my mind was, I remembered being in a class at Georgia State, and it was a logic class, and we would create arguments and whatnot, and we also sometimes would have classroom debates. And should we or should we not have the Confederate flag was a issue that we debated in class one day. And of course, we went over the general points for and against, the other team in favor of the Confederate flag talked about its history, its heritage, and whatnot. And our team talked about the representation of murder, hate, destruction that flag also carried. And at the end of the debate, what I thought was interesting, a young man from the other team approached me and said, "You did a pretty good job." And I was thinking to myself, that's kind of loaded. Did he think I could not do a good job in debating my argument? Or had I touched his heart or his thoughts in any way? I hope that I had. But I have no idea. But what I like to say about the flag and this rise of white supremacy and nationalism and the hate that's behind it is just inconceivable to me. And I am a African American woman who, at the age of 8, when we rode buses into this predominantly white school, there was families outside the school calling us niggers. I'm going to go ahead and say the N word because I want you to understand what we were hearing as 8-year-olds on the first day of school. They were calling us niggers. In the classroom, we were being called niggers. There were fights that would break out on a regular basis. And the thing about it is, in spite of that, in spite of being called a nigger the first day of school in my 3rd grade year, nigger, I heard nigger again in the classroom. I heard nigger again in the 6th grade. I heard nigger when I was going from my middle school, my junior high school, walking about a mile to the high school to try out for the band for the Flag Corps. It was a group of us walking through this neighborhood. And at that point in time, I've been this height since I was in the 6th grade. I'm 5'5". So at that time, I was a little tall for my age. And I was probably the tallest and the biggest in the group. So as we walked through this neighborhood, I heard someone say, "Get out of our neighborhood, nigger." And some of the kids got nervous in our group. It was it was mostly girls. It may have been one boy. And I said, keep going. Just keep going. Don't look back. So they kept moving. And I looked over my shoulder at this group of boys to see who this was that had the nerve to say something like that to me and the other kids. And no, even though I knew that I was not on my own ground, my own territory, in my home place of home area, a neutral zone. I wasn't in my home zone. I wasn't in a neutral zone. I wasn't going to be stupid about it. But I just told the other kids that were with me, keep moving. But when I looked over my shoulder, one of the boys that were calling us those names was a boy that sat next to me every day in math class. An advanced math class at that. So high-minded, right? And I also remember when I was working in the cafeteria at this one hospital. I've been in the medical field since I was 16. And I remember delivering trays and one Caucasian nurse telling another Caucasian nurse, oh, I bet her IQ isn't any higher than her bra size. And the nurse that she was speaking to responded, called her name, like, how could you, how don't say that. And then she kind of giggled, oh, it probably is. And I moved on. And I guess I moved on because a couple of things. I moved on because my mom kind of taught me early how to pick and choose my battles. Okay? And the way she did that was when I started junior high school, she said, if you get suspended for fighting, you're going to have to fight me when you come home. And that was it. That's all she had to tell me. That was it. She didn't have to tell me anything else. Because elementary school, I was fighting. We were fighting up something, okay, at my elementary school. But once we got to the junior high level, it was a known fact that the disciplinary action for a fight would be automatic 3-day suspension. Okay? And I guess it was because the junior high school had been through some horrible things with that first desegregation line that they did in my 3rd grade year. Because not only were we being called nigger in elementary school and fighting at the elementary school, my cousin was at the junior high school. His mom was coming to pick him up from school for fighting because they were fighting at the junior high level. And not only were they fighting at the junior high level, when a high school had been integrated in the same high school I was going to take to try out for the band, not quite 10 years before that, there was an incident where a young man spit on another young man, and that young man returned fire and shot him. Okay? So this place was a bit of a hotbed. So when we started going to this particular junior high school, it was known that it was automatic 3-day suspension for fighting. And I had been fighting. I had become a fighter. And my mom said, no. If I had to take off of my job to come see about you at that school, we're going to have a problem. So that was it. And even though I went through those things, and even though I still face racial things on a regular basis, as I went through elementary school, junior high school, college, my job, my profession as a nurse, and even in my profession as an actor, I have encountered things that came across as very racially motivated to me. Okay? So you probably think or wonder, well, how do you feel about Caucasian people? And the thing that strikes me is I ask myself all the time, how do I feel? How do I feel about them? What deep inside, how do I feel? And it always comes to me when I used to use the word hate when I was coming up as a little kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, when I would say, I hate this or I hate that. And my mom stopped me and said, stop using that word. That's a strong word. You don't even know what that word means. And she stopped me in my tracks. And then I became very careful with the word hate and using the word hate. And not saying that, I have those feelings, I just don't use the term. Not that at all. I'm just very careful in the fact that why give that particular emotion any energy? Hate, anger, pain, those are such draining emotions. To me, they're so draining that they debilitate you, where you can't really function at a high level as a human being in our society. It drains your love, it drains your sympathy, your empathy, your ability to connect with others. So why would I waste my time on that? And although I know that there are people out there who are wrapped up in this ideal of us and them, and we are better than them, there's something deeper going on. And I'm basically going to wrap this up, because if I really go down this rabbit hole, I don't know where it's going to end. But I really feel this us and them mentality is rooted deeper in something else. It is rooted in a few things. There's not enough for me. I'm not going to be accepted for me. And this, being a part of this, is a part of being accepted, a part of belonging. And I still feel that is rooted in a sense of pain and a lack of love. That's the only thing I can see that can arise from. Because I really don't believe that we're born that way. We're not born with a feeling of hate or to hate someone else. And it was a movie, and I can't think of the name of it right now. I'm gonna try to look it up. I never forgot this movie. It was with Tom Berenger and Deborah Winger. Deborah Winger was, I think, an FBI agent, and she was trying to infiltrate the KKK. And out of this whole movie, the one scene that really struck me and really impacted me was Deborah had gotten involved with this man, and she was thinking he was a part of the KKK, and he invited her on a family trip. Well, it turned out this family trip was to a camp that trained the kids for warfare, basically how to handle machine guns and whatnot. And Tom Berenger's daughter, which I would say was maybe like 8, 9, 10 years old, was handling a machine gun. And when I saw that, I said to myself, that is where it all begins. That's where it begins. And I'm looking for the movie and I cannot find it. But that's okay. I'll search for it and I will tag it in my post, okay? But I'm going to wrap this up and just say that seeing that Confederate flag flying over Georgia was such a disappointment for a couple of reasons. I was like really going through a lot of stuff when I left South Florida. Me and my husband had just separated, and I basically was starting over. But the big thing for me was when I moved to Atlanta, I was able to shed my armor and grow and meet some beautiful, interesting people that were like-minded, goal-minded, and just in search of that self-knowledge and that self-revelation, and just in search of the truth like I am. And I just felt like my whole world just opened up when I moved here. So when I came across that state line and saw that flag, it really made me sad. So sad to the point that, do I want to remain here? Is this going to be my permanent home? I don't know. Because I love Atlanta. It is like, to me, it's all of that. But this kind of shook me up because it's telling me what's outside 30 miles beyond the perimeter of Atlanta. What awaits me. And it's disturbing. But that's all for now, people. So if you want to catch me, it's coolchick_1 on Twitter and Instagram. Holla at your girl. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.